यहाँ कोई डेमोक्रेसी नहीं है. Mr. Azad, I'll start with you, then Vineet Goenka, and then I also have a Ravi Shankar Prasad statement that I want to play. But you see, political financing is a real issue, and I don't know if any of us have good answers. I think Ashwini Mahajan raises an important question. Now that the bonds are gone, how are elections going to be funded? None of us know the answer to that, right? But alongside the bonds are now these allegations of tax notices. Ashwini Mahajan says that's just process. हमारे भी हुए हैं block. As a sort of someone who's been a very senior bureaucrat in the system, what do you make of all of it?
Barkha, let me not mince my words and say at the very outset that I think that the electoral bond funding system of political funding of elections or the parties is the biggest fraud which has been played on Indian democracy. If the kind of data which has emerged, and we have got to know the kind of companies which have been buying the electoral bonds, it is ridiculous that if the entire system of electoral bond system has been rendered unconstitutional, then how are we having elections with this tainted money? In fact, I'm the one who has tweeted and very openly that how are you having these elections? I think Supreme Court should have postponed the elections and said all the parties should return this money.
But why? I'm saying, but why? Because it's not as if जो पहले पैसा आ रहा था वो बहुत साफ था. I agree with you that, by the way, 4 of the top 5 companies have been raided, scrutinized, booked by either the ED, IT or CBI at some point in the last 5 years. So I take the point about dodgy money in our elections. But पहले कौन सा साफ पैसा था, यशो सर? पहले कौन सा साफ पैसा था?
नहीं, तो पहले की बात थी कि ब्लैक मनी देते थे. आपको कैसे मालूम है कि ब्लैक बॉन्ड ये इलेक्ट्रल बॉन्ड खरीदने के अलावा भी वो ब्लैक मनी नहीं दे रहे हैं? उस पर कोई सिस्टम चेक है? इसलिए चेक नहीं है, मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, क्योंकि आज जिस तरह की सिस्टम हमारे पॉलिटिक्स का है वो करप्शन पे ही उसकी नींव है. सवाल ये है, अगर आप रोज रैली कर रहे हैं, आप उसका कॉस्ट निकालिए, वो कहां से आता है? क्या ऐसी रैलियां रोज किसी देश में होती हैं? हर तरह से पब्लिक मीटिंग, हर तरफ से रैली, जितने पैसे खर्च होते हैं उसका पॉलिटिकल व्हील जो है वो करप्शन पे चलता है. मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं बिकॉज द काइंड ऑफ फंडिंग विच हैज बीन डन, the kind of exposure which has come about, forget what has happened in the last, but how are you allowing these elections with this tainted money? There is no justification. In fact, let me tell you another thing. When this was passed as a money bill, it carried on for 5 years. So for 5 years, that entire money has been very happily used. And no matter what you say earlier on it was black money and now it is electoral bond system. Why wasn't it then conceived of in a very simple way कि एक आदमी ने एक पार्टी को इतना चंदा इस दिनांक को दिया? Why this opacity? And this opacity itself has hurt the fundamental right which the Supreme Court talked about. Yes.
Okay, but very briefly, because Vineet has been waiting, is there any party that can claim a moral high ground? I mean, just because the BJP has the most amount of money doesn't mean that the others, other than the CPM, the communists, everybody has taken money. Mr. Azad, so who's different?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Your entire political activity is greased by this kind of a corruption and tainted money. What I'm saying is you should have a system in this country where it should be absolutely open. And don't say that I'm an idealist or anything like that. These are the demands of democracy. You can't go around spending. There are people who are spending 13 crores, people who are distributing 3,000 caps. Is this a joke? And we are not trying to break the system.
But in the meantime, we are locked in the horns of the familiar democracy debate. Ravi Shankar Prasad, senior leader of the BJP, is hitting back at that press conference, joint press conference between Sonia Gandhi, Mallikarjun, Kharge and Rahul Gandhi. Take a look, and Vineet Goenka, I'll come to you right after that.
इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में धारा 220, धारा 221 में इस बात का पूरा प्रावधान है. कलेक्शन एंड रिकवरी 10 सेक्शन है. कैसे कलेक्शन होगा, कैसे रिकवरी होगी, सर्टिफिकेट होगा, पेनाल्टी लगेगी, मैं पढ़ नहीं रहा हूं, बट देयर इज एन इनबिल्ट मैकेनिज्म. तो उसका टैक्स का प्रोसेस है. आईटीओ ने नहीं किया तो आप अपील में जाएंगे. आपने नहीं किया तो आप कमिश्नर के यहाँ जाएंगे, कमिश्नर ने नहीं किया तो आप ट्राइब्यूनल में जाएंगे, ट्राइब्यूनल नहीं किया आप हाई कोर्ट जाएंगे, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे। इससे ना संजय मयूख को मतलब है, डॉक्टर पात्रा को मतलब है, ना मुझे मतलब है, ना भाजपा को मतलब है। दिस इज ए रूटीन टैक्स प्रोसेस। और राहुल गांधी ने सफेद झूठ क्यों बोला है, यह आज देश को भाजपा के राष्ट्रीय मंच से जाना जरूरी है। हर जगह उनका स्टे रिजेक्ट हुआ, उस पेनाल्टी में अकाउंट फ्रीज हुए, टैक्स नहीं दिया, और झूठ बोले हैं आज।
Okay, Vineet Goenka, just before I come to you, a piece of political news. The BJP has just announced the name of Mr. Annamalai as their candidate from Coimbatore. Mohan, I thought that might interest you. Tamil Nadu, of course, voting in the first phase. Now, Vineet Goenka, to return to the debate that we were having. Go ahead, Vineet ji.
Barkha, Ram Ram to you, Ram Ram to all my co-panelists and all the viewers who are watching me right now. Now, in this entire discussion of last 30 minutes, I've heard three tracks. One, about bond. Second is the Congress playing victim card that they have been frozen with funds. And third is the entire mechanism of funding is flawed. So let me first address the Congress part. Now, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to file a return. Even if you don't have income, you're supposed to file a zero return. If you have some income, you have some way of receipts of money, you're supposed to declare what is the way you have got the money. If there is a surplus or a profit, you are supposed to pay the tax. You don't do that. You don't do that because you think that you're the oldest party who can touch you. And when you get notice, you overlook that notice. When the notice is served with supplementary notice, you yet overlook that. And then you say, I've been victimized. When did the first notice come to you? You have to tell to the people. 7 years. All these 7 years, this mother and the son, they were quiet, enjoying what they had earned in their era very nicely. Now, after 7 years, when they exhausted all their remedies and the funds got fridged, they cry for the democracy is in danger. Are the citizens of this country fools? When was the first notice been served to Congress? Why didn't the Congress submit their returns? What is the reason they have not submitted the returns? Why didn't they pay the tax? Whether the tax was 1 rupee or whether the tax was 100 crore rupees. I don't know, but they should have paid that. What was the reason they were holding it? A. So Congress should not play this victim. Number two, when you are about to be defeated, when the defeat is unavoidable, then you start playing the victim card. EVMs are not good. Then you start playing the victim card. Then the tax the taxman has freezed my accounts. Now let me come to the bond part. In the bond part, Barkha ji, Bharatiya Janata Party got more than 6,900 crore rupees as per your records. I don't have the records. But Congress got more than 1,300 crore rupees. Why did they receive this money? If this money was tainted, they should not have received it. Now let me tell your audience, Bharatiya Janata Party got more than 37.36% of the votes casted in 2019, whereas Congress only got 19.49% of the votes. If the corporates were aware that this party has not got the mandate, they do not even half the mandate of Bharatiya Janata Party, why would they donate the money? Was this a quid pro quo of saying some past understanding? Was this because they wanted to do a quid pro for the future understanding? Why would somebody pay? A common man, somebody like me who has never been able to see a crore rupees in the life.
What quid pro quo could they give if they're not in government? I mean, at state levels they can, but not at state.
Yeah. Let me complete my sentence. I'll make the meaning, Barkha ji. A person like me who has never seen a single crore rupees in one go, I won't donate 5 rupees to somebody if I'm sure that they're not going to win next 10 years. Why would this intelligent corporate CFOs and the CEOs and the MDs pay this money, which is more than 1,300 crore rupees, to a Congress which is absolutely hopeless right now? Absolutely hopeless Congress. So then you have to have a question to these people. So let me complete. I'm impatiently hearing for 30 minutes. From since my childhood. Number two, when they were receiving money, they had not. And on to comment on the IPS officer, Mr. Jha. The money was legal, sir. It was as per the law of the government. ROC or any other people, they were all okay with the law till the Supreme Court has struck it. So do not call it as to be illegal money. They paid it because there was a sovereign rule behind this that you can give the money. Was the money declared by those corporate in their balance sheets? Answer is yes. They did not declare the name of the recipient political party, but they had to declare their money, unlike the Congress, which has not declared their income tax. So they always declare that they have donated this money to some political party, which they did not tell. Just because they did not tell that, they have not become black money. Number two, Now, everybody has raised issues which are beyond the discussion. Let me also raise one more issue, Barkha. When I hear Supreme Court talking about transparency and especially coming up and striking down some sovereign law, I am very happy that the Supreme Court is really powerful, which can go against this government. I only request through your channel to Supreme Court, let there be a transparency and appointment of the judges also. I rest my case here.
Okay, we've gone into a different direction. And by the way, as we are talking, the unique ID numbers are up. This is what I'm being told by my producers, and we maybe while we're still talking, we'll have some details. But my suspicion is that it's going to take a little bit of work by us to match the alphanumerical numbers. But let me bring in Mohan and then Ashwini Mahajan, and then I'll come back.
Permit me one line.
Yes, okay, sure.
So the gentleman from the Congress is very learned, and I'm sure he will help me to understand more. A very sharp guy. All these months, Rahul Gandhi ji was taking name of two big companies, two big conglomerates. अडानी अंबानी का पैसा कितना पैसा दिया किसको देख लीजिए उन्होंने लोग भी तो देखते हैं कोतरोची ने क्या दिया था ये भी बता दीजिए बस इतना छोटा सा रिक्वेस्ट है तो देयर इज अ ओल्ड सेइंग सर चोर मचाए शोर
Okay, here's the question to you, Mohan. You said you're in opposition, so you can't possibly offer a quid pro quo. Going by the fact that the Trinamool has actually received the second largest amount of bonds, that state governments are powerful, and the Congress, has been at the helm of several state governments in the period of the bonds. One. Second. Why does Rahul Gandhi make everything a democracy debate? Why are we back in the familiar weeds of India is not a democracy, ye jhoot hai, ye democracy nahi hai? Do you not think it does a disservice to your party where instead of arguing on the facts in front of you, there's an extrapolation? As if with different amount of funds, your electoral performance would be different. Is that the argument you're making?
Barkha, I mean, it goes without saying that resources are important to fight in any election. There's so much stuff being said, so I will address your question, but let me go to Mr. Goenka's rantings is no better word for it, frankly. First of all, political parties pay income tax. So I don't know what he was going on about when he said that, why haven't you paid your tax? Why haven't you paid your tax? Second, this notice that's come that Mr. Markin held up today is from Mr. Sitaram Kestri's time. Okay, so this is the first notice we've gotten now. So again, I don't know what he was about with first notice, second notice, third notice. Made a lot of accusations about Mrs. Gandhi and her son enjoying money and now paying the victim card. Just look at the pattern of the last 3 months alone. I mean, listen, there is enough data out there to tell you that 95% of all cases that the EDI, the CBI, the ED and the CBI filed against politicians are against opposition politicians. So what does that tell you? And if you're going to say compare with UPA, it was 60%, then you can look at that math as well. This government has used whatever coercive means possible to squeeze the opposition. There are so many leaders of the opposition who have been blackmailed or incentivized or any which way they can to move over to their side. And now finally, when everything else is over, they are now freezing bank accounts. And, the penalty should be commensurate to the crime, right? If, Barkha, you miss your filing of income taxes and you have, let's say, a 5 lakh penalty, they're not going to seize your house. So, I mean, that's the data that I started with, saying that on a maximum when you are late on filing your returns, because even if you don't pay income tax, you have to file your returns on time. If you are late in filing your returns, its maximum penalty is about 10,000, right? And even for the amount that they're saying there's a discrepancy in, which is cash collected, was only 0.07% of the total balance. How do you put 110 crore lien on it? And then you give for everybody, even if you don't ask for it, you pay 20% deposit of the penalty and you are allowed to take the rest of the money. There's a stay on the freeze. But for some reason, the Congress party doesn't get that. The appellate tribunal says, no, we won't give that to you. And there is timing to everything. The reason that we are going into an election, with all due respect to the learned spokesperson from the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, he got a notice. Even I've gotten notices in the past, right? But that's not, the timing of this notice is very important. And the punitive action taken right as we're going into the election. If you freeze the primary national opposition's account, what do you think is going to happen to this election? How is it a free and fair election?
Okay.
Now, while Mr. Gandhi, it's not the first time that Mr. Gandhi said that democracy is under threat. He's been saying it for a while. The BJP seems intent to prove him right with every action they're taking. They're just making it sure. They're making sure that they prove him right.
Let me get in Ashwini Mahajan and then Yashu Azad, and then I'll come to you, Vineet, in that order. Ashwini ji, this 2-3 points have been made, including Mr. Azad making a very strong statement saying कि election ही नहीं होनी चाहिए because they're all bankrolled by what he's calling dirty money. You have the exact opposite view. You are saying it's because of the bonds, and Yashka, that's something to consider. It's because of the bonds that today we know that there is a man called Santiago Martin. He has spent 1,368 crores. There is a mega engineering. It has spent over 600, actually 1,200 crores, and so on. अगर bonds नहीं होते तो हमें ये पता भी नहीं होता. But Ashwini Mahajan, are you making? I understand you don't want to go back to cash, but are you making a case for anonymous electoral bonds? Why should they be anonymous? देखिए parties को मालूम है किसने दिया है पैसा, because DMK, AIDMK have released the entities. जब parties को मालूम है तो क्विड प्रो को तो उसमें स्क्रिप्ट में लिखा हुआ है ना. मैं हर पार्टी की बात कर रही हूँ, not about any one party.
मेरा यहाँ मैंने तो नहीं कहा कि एनोनिमस होना चाहिए. मैंने तो ये कहा,
मैं पूछ रही हूँ. हाँ.
मैंने I said this thing that electoral bonds was an improvement over the earlier system of cash, where you never knew how much money has been given to Indira Gandhi, how much money has been given to Rajiv Gandhi. Nobody knew. But now, I told you, sooner or later, all these things are going to come out because judiciary is on it.